Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast, and probably there might be some folks that are even farther into the afternoon, but it should be between 9 o'clock and noon, straight up somewhere. Welcome out. I am so excited to be with you again today. I love these opportunities to train with you guys. It's my passion, and it truly is something that fulfills me when, as you get older, what I'm finding is that, I was always guilty of this. My kids would tease me and they would say, Dad, I put in a quarter, I don't want a $4 answer. And so there was always a little bit of criticism or reluctance maybe to ask Dad a question, because I kind of went on and on. I love being having an opportunity to share things that are important to me, I guess. I'm passionate about helping people understand things that I found very difficult to understand, very, very challenging. And as soon as I figure something out, my instinct is to look around and see if there's anybody that might be interested in hearing about it. Who can I share this with? This was so cool. I just learned this, and it's learning it was exciting. It is more exciting to share it with somebody else and to watch them get it. And so that's always been my modus operandi. Charles, good morning to you, my friend. Hope all is well with you and your family. I spent the last month with my family, the whole month of June, from the 1st to the 28th. We had a high school graduation for my oldest grandson. We spent 8 or 9 days with them. And then we spent the rest of the month in Southern California. My daughter has got a beautiful 10-acre piece of heaven out in the hills east of Oceanside, California. And while it's dry out there, there's also water running in low spots, i.e. little valleys. And they've got 10 acres where more than half of it is in a little valley that is a drainage area. So it's very lush, very green. We did a lot of fun things. I rented an excavator for part of a project that I'm doing there for my own home that I'm building there on their property. But we took their little pond, and we tripled the size of their pond and put a bridge over it. And there's fish in it, and little tiny fish, and tadpoles, and a whole bunch of grandkids playing in this muddy water, having the time of their life. But we spent a good time down there with all of my family. I have, to my great joy, and to me, it's a great blessing. I have a lot of grandkids, and we had time to just enjoy each other out there in that beautiful piece of property, riding quads and motorcycles, and making dust. And I worked on my little house that we're building. It's a little vacation house that we're going to Airbnb when we're not there. But it's just a beautiful place to go out in the trees about 500 feet from where my daughter lives. Did run into a rattlesnake, and not out in the open field. I came around the corner, and I haven't even told my wife about this because I didn't want to freak her out, but I was working in the dome up there. And it was getting, late in the day, and maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I walked out of the bedroom into the living room, and whoa, my gosh, there was this little snake. Now it was a baby one, but baby one meaning about 16 inches long. And it was just sitting there on the floor. And I guess I'd had the door open, and it decided to come in. And it made me worry that if you see one, is there more, right? And so I searched the house very carefully after I dispatched that little guy. And but it was a wonderful place. We had a wonderful time. Thanks for asking. I hope you guys are going to have a wonderful 4th of July. I hope you get to see family and do some fun things and vacation this summer, in spite of having $6 plus or minus a gallon of gas and crazy airline things going on. I hope you get to do something fun this summer and enjoy yourself. So, Helen, good to see you, my friend. Good morning to you. Will, how you doing, buddy? He says, I like that saying, good. Charles, let's see, that's what makes you special, because you go into detail. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I loved it. and came back to, you're going to have some fires to put out when you're gone for a month. And I did, but we got her done. And I'm happy to be here this morning. Let's see, who can see your messages recording on? I'm not sure what that is. It looks like it's a question. I don't know who put it on. Anyway, but the recording is on, so we are ready to rock and roll. I'm excited to talk to you about this today. Again, it's a little philosophical, but you know what? Trading is, I don't know if it's 80% mindset. People throw a lot of numbers around. I don't know that you can actually put a number, but the vast majority of of trading is mental, because this is not a sport or an activity where you pick up a racket or you pick up a ball or you get into a car or something like that. It's in your head, and which means that it is going to come easier to some people than others. It is also going to be something that is going to connect to and relate to any issues that you have. When I say in a mental situation, as far as how your mind works, the market tends to amplify the negative things in your mind. And there's good reason for that. So let's touch on that just for a little bit before I start the slides and jump into this. I want you to think about that concept. The market will magnify the negative aspects of your mental condition, of your mindset. Okay? Why in the world would that be the case? And I want this to be interactive. There's no wrong answer here. I want you to tell me what comes to your mind when I throw that idea out there, that the market accentuates the negatives in your mental frame of mind, your mindset, if you will. Why not the positives? There's good reason for this. And if you don't know it, you need to, because you are engaged in a situation where you're interacting with a market that is going to put you at great risk. Not only is there potential for benefit, there's potential for risk. So why does the market accentuate the negative? Tripp says human nature is to avoid bad as opposed to finding good. Okay, I agree with that statement. I'm not sure that connects with what I'm looking for here. Why does the market accentuate the negative aspects of your mindset? Michael says, your brain is trained to protect you with fear. Okay, that's true. Why does the market trigger fear? Why does the market trigger the negative or the weak spots in your mental frame of mind? Make no mistake, it does. Why? Will says fear and pain. Okay, you're kind of alluding around this. I want you to put a little bit more, put a few more words around this. Why? Because there has to be a statement, a frame of mind, a sentence, if you will, that summarizes or that identifies why the market triggers negative aspects of your mental well-being or your frame of mind. No one likes to lose. The slightest negative magnifies that. Okay, I think from the words that I'm hearing, you've got a picture of it. I want to change perhaps or amplify the way that you're saying it for the benefit of not only making sure everybody's on the same page, but also for those that might be new or newer, because this is not something that is a natural or it makes sense. It's not common sense unless you really break it down. When you are dealing with the market, you are doing it not out of fear. Initially, you don't say, I want to trade the market because I'm scared of it. No, you say, I want to learn to trade because there's money there. There's a benefit. There's something that I would like to be able to benefit from. That's why I want to do it. So you go in there with a positive mindset that, hey, this is exciting. I want to learn how to do this because I want to make some money. That's what a lot of people say. I don't happen to agree with that as a goal or as a reason, but that's what a lot of people say. That is normal. You inherently, in your gut level, you know that the market is something that you cannot beat. You know that because unless you're totally ignorant, you don't know enough to have a justifiable sense of confidence that I can go beat this. I've been a successful lawyer. I've been a successful plumber, whatever. I've raised a bunch of kids. I'm an adult. I can figure this out. That's overconfidence. Okay. That's ignorance. But when you start to engage, when you start to figure out a little bit about what you're dealing with, there is a gut level inherent understanding that you're dealing with something that you have no control over. And I want to touch on this a little bit later in the presentation, but repetition is the mother of skill. So I want to hit this 2 or 3 times. There is a feeling that you get when you are on a ladder. I had that feeling here a few days ago, and you're up and you feel pretty good. I mean, you're working there. It's solid. Everything feels fine. And then something slips. It could be even just the slightest adjustment, but something in that ladder moves and you did not move it. In that instant, there is a gut check. There is a mental, where everything freezes just for a second. And you go, oh my gosh. And you have this sense that I am not in control of this. If it does that again, I may be in real trouble here. It just moved a little bit, then it stopped. But in that instant, it was enough to cause you to shudder. Okay. Charles says you have to learn how to dance with a gorilla. Yes, and to the best of my knowledge, that's a term that I introduced to students many years ago. You're dancing with something that is a whole lot stronger than you are. And as long as everything's going fine, it's fine. But you have to have a sense that I am not the big dog in this engagement here, in this endeavor. I was 15 feet up on a ladder leaning against a wire because there was no building. I was trying to connect a turnbuckle to a cable, and the cable was very thin. It was only, I don't even want to tell you, it was 3/32 cable, steel cable. And I was leaning a 15-foot high ladder up against it so that I could climb up and attach a turnbuckle. And there was no one around to help hold the ladder. And I tell you what, I knew it was sketchy. And I really, really thought it was a bad idea. At the same time, I'm determined, and I've been on ladders before. And so I did the dumb thing. Now it worked out. Nothing bad happened. But I tell you what, I was up there and it adjusted. I think it was sitting on one of the legs was on a rock, and it shifted, and that ladder moved a little bit, and my entire body just tensed up, and I was ready. I was ready. In fact, on the way up, I had planned my escape. Where am I going to jump if this thing breaks? Where can I jump? How can I land? But it was a very, very much just that little slight movement, and I knew that I was potentially in big trouble. Guys, trading will amplify the negatives in your mind because you inherently know that you're not in control. And when you have a sense that you're not in control, it will trigger the other things that were mentioned. The natural fear, the tendency to avoid pain, the tendency to operate irrationally. When you're under pressure, guys, it's difficult to trade rationally. It's difficult to act rationally when you're under pressure. When you feel threatened, your entire physiology and your entire mental state, your neurology changes. You can go through the whole chemical sequence of what happens, and we've talked about some of these things before. So how do you avoid that? How do you trade without letting the market trigger those negative reactions of avoiding pain? Well, why is that a negative reaction? Well, because sometimes a little pain is necessary. If you do everything to avoid pain, you're not acting rationally. Okay. In the market, we don't determine success by winning and losing. Making money or losing money is not the determination of good trading. Now, you may think that sounds a little bit odd, but it's not. Making a trade where you have it cost you some money, if you did the trade correctly, that's success. That's a good trade. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, but you lost money. No, I didn't. You never lose money in the market if you trade properly. You always risk money to find out, right? That's something I've taught you many times. You never lose a dime. If you have the right frame of mind, you simply risk so many dollars to find out if this trade is going to work. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, we found out. You didn't lose anything. And if you're in a mindset where you're not losing, you can stay rational. It becomes cost-benefit analysis. It becomes clinical, and that's the way it should be. It should be just like working on a project at work or whatever you're doing. You've got experience, you know what the parameters are, you know what to expect, but you also know certain things might be a surprise, and so if you have the surprise, well, it's not the end of the world. It's just that, how did it go? Well, we had one of those things, remember, like last December when that, I remember that. Yeah, it was one of those. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, it was. It sucks. How'd you do it? Well, we had to do this and this and this. Oh man, what did it cost? Well, it cost X amount of dollars. Okay. Well, glad it wasn't worse. Now on to the next one. You don't quit. It's just, hey, that one didn't work out. It's kind of like that, kind of like one we had, last week or last month or 6 months ago. Okay, next trade. If you can't learn to put that in the same context you do in your regular normal life, my folks, my friends, you are in for a world of hurt. You probably shouldn't be doing this. Now, nobody gets to that point very quickly. You have to work at it, but nonetheless, you have to get there. Otherwise, this becomes just climb in the dryer, have your friend put in, at the laundromat, climb in the dryer, have your friend put in 4 quarters and hit the button. I mean, you're just going to get beat up and rolled around in the dryer or the washing machine because your mindset is wrong. When the market turns on you, it does trigger fear. It does trigger the fear of losing. It does trigger irrational behavior. If you are holding on to it and trying to define it as I've got to beat this, because if it beats me, then I lose. Everything about that is wrong. Everything about that is wrong. You're not trying to beat the market. You can't define success by whether I made money or not. All right. And with that setup, let's go ahead and dive into the slides here. We'll click on this from the beginning. We'll do a share and oops, let me get back to here. Share screen. Yes, I want to go to this one. All right, so let me know on the text chat there, folks, if you're seeing my smiley face and it says Trading Coaches Playbook. And let's start down this road together here. You're seeing a car. Wrong screen. Yeah, that's okay. We'll stop sharing there. Let's try this again. Screen 2. How about that? There we go. All right. Now that car was on turn 7, I believe, of PIR Raceway. A few laps after that, I left the road going 110, 115, went off the track. I had a little bit of a brake problem. Good news was on that big sweeping turn, there was a great big open area. There was just a big cloud of dust, and I climbed back on the road, and I think I shared that with you, and got back on the track and was black flagged, which means get off the track and go explain to somebody what the crap happened. And so I had to do that. So anyway, sorry about that. Here we go. Disclaimer. We always have the disclaimer. I think you know what that is. I'm not going to give you any trading advice. Please don't take it as such. This is advice on the mindset, on the aspect of in today's subject, which is how we define and how we go about reaching proficiency. I mean, that's really the object. How do you get to where you can survive this thing? So here we have, this is great, actually. The way Rob's got this set up, and kudos to Rob, guys, on everything he does. I just can't say enough about how much respect I have for him and keeping this venue going for you guys, and opportunity for me to help coach and teach. Tony's got a class coming up. Make sure you jump in on that. And here we go. Guys, I love this statement from Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. He says to Luke, try not. Don't try. Everybody do this for a second. And I don't know if I've done this before, but I want to teach you this because you will have fun doing this to others who you want to give a little influence to. It might be children, grandchildren, friends. When you're trying to teach a point, this is a great one. Everybody put your hand on the desk beside you. Right now, put your hand flat down on the desk, palm down. Ready? Here you go. When I say 3, try to lift your hand. 1, 2, 3, try to lift your hand. Try it, lift it. Go ahead. Try to lift your hand. Okay, now if I was watching you, there would be the majority. Almost everybody lifts their hand up and goes, okay, so what's the deal? And I say, no, put your hand back on the desk. Everybody put your hand back on the desk. Listen to me carefully. When I say 3, try to lift your hand. 1, 2, 3, go. And people kind of look around and then lift their hand up like, okay, that was not hard. I agree. It wasn't hard. That's not what I asked you. And about the 3rd or 4th time, people start to get it. And you say, try to lift your hand. And what happens is your hand doesn't move. At least it doesn't lift off the desk. Because lifting your hand off the desk is not what I asked you to do. I said, try to do it. By definition, if you're trying, it hasn't been done yet. I'm trying to get to New York. Are you there? No. If I was there, I wouldn't be trying. That's true. You see, and that's what Yoda said. Don't try. Do it or don't do it. There is no try. Try doesn't exist. You're either doing it or you're not doing it, right? So guys, when it comes to trading, I'm going to start with this. Either do it or don't do it. Don't try. Don't hang in there. I'm trying. It's not working very well. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't have much sympathy for that. I'm sorry. I'm not being crass. I'm just saying, and I wouldn't say that. It would be very unsympathetic if there was no alternative, if I wasn't offering an alternative. I don't want you to try. I want you to succeed. Okay? I want you to do it. So how are we going to do that? How do you accomplish that? Not try. How do you accomplish it? Let's talk about it. Do or do not. There is no try. These are the bullet points that I put out for the class. Are there natural traders? Yes, but this class is not for them. If you're not a natural trader, is there hope? That's a good question. Becoming proficient. What does it take to become proficient? Identifying your niche, your style, your venue. Outlining your path. Your path. Own it. Own your why. And then do the work. And lastly, your journey to proficiency. It's a personal one, but in my opinion, it's best traveled with mentors and like minds. Guys, I love the movie The Natural. Robert Redford played an aging baseball player with a magic bat called Lightning. It was a phenomenal movie. I really do. I really do believe that. He was a natural. He was not normal. As gifted and as talented as all the players are in the Major League Baseball and any other sport, there's very few that are naturals. Okay? It doesn't work that way. Market Wizards. Can I strongly review or refer this book to you? If you've not read it, please do. And there's a sequel to it as well, Market Wizards 2. If you haven't read it for years, read it again. Has anybody read this book besides me? I need to know. Raise your hand, say yes, type in something. I know there's some. Okay, Tripp says yes, Will says no. Okay, so I know Tripp has read it, and I don't know if it's been a lot of years since you reviewed it, but Tripp, there's a theme in there. So I'm going to put you on the spot and just see What do you see as the theme of that book? And so I'm not hearing very many people saying that they have read the book. Okay. And Tripp admits that it's been years. So let me tell you what the theme is. Jack Schwager wrote this book, and he wrote a sequel because he kept finding more people to interview. But this is interviews with traders that were legends. They're called wizards, legends on Wall Street, people that made millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's the theme. With the exception of one person that I know of in his books, only one, and he interviewed tons of people that are the wizards of Wall Street. Okay. Here's the theme. They all went broke multiple times. When I say went broke, to the order of millions and millions of dollars each. Before they became wizards, they were failures by the definition of what most people put into trading. I'm going to go trade the markets. I'm going to lose $1 million. That doesn't sound like success to me. Why? Well, because when you go to trade the markets, success is you make money. Okay. If that's what you want to believe, that's fine. If you want some mentoring or coaching, I'll be happy to give you an alternative definition. But Schwager interviews all of these incredible people that did wonderful things on Wall Street in terms of success by definition, making money, and by being able to do it consistently and make a lot of money. To get there, they all failed. They all lost a ton of money. Now, so is that the definition of how do you become successful? Like the joke that says, how do you make a small fortune in the market? Start out with a large one, right? Are we saying that the only way that you can make money in the market and be successful is to lose a bunch of money first? I'm not saying that. Is that common? It's extremely common. And the reality is that those that lose are the majority, not the minority. They're the majority, even amongst professionals. But if you win, or if you make enough money in the market to where you make more than your total losses, you could say, well, I came out a winner because I net made more than I lost. Okay, cool. But everything about what I said there is using wrong words, and it is wrong, because you're talking about engaging with something where you win and lose, and it's not about that. And I would argue that is the reason that these wizards lost the amount of money that they did and the multiple times that they did, because they were in there trying to fight and beat something that they didn't have the ability to fight or beat. They did not know how to dance with the gorilla. They were trying to dance the gorilla. Okay? They were going in there trying to beat the markets, which is stupid. You don't walk up to a bus and say, I'm going to move you. Okay? You can push on it all you want. You're not going to move. If the bus doesn't move, no harm, no foul. You just didn't move the bus. If the bus rolls over your foot, bus doesn't care, but you got a busted foot or worse. Now, maybe the bus moves and they were just happened to be putting it in gear when you reached up and pushed on it. And so you take credit for it. Hey, I pushed the bus. Good for you. But sometimes you push and it doesn't move. And sometimes you push and it pushes back and you get wiped out. You get run over. These wizards were trying to beat the markets and they got crushed. Many of them had success. They happened to push the bus just when it was in gear and moving. And so they assumed that it was their doing. They had it all figured out. Then the bus turns around, reverses, and runs over them. And they're going, what the? Now, to the credit of the wizards, somebody said consistency, which is what Tripp said. To the credit of the wizards, they came back and did it again. Many of them got crushed a second time, or a third time, or a fourth time. But they were tenacious enough and they came back and they finally figured out how to do it. Now, it's not a universal thing. There are some universal aspects, but each one of them did it in their own way. But they figured out how to dance with the gorilla without getting crushed. They figured out how to work with the bus without getting run over. But ultimately, they figured out that they have to work with it, not They don't have to dominate and beat it. They had to figure out how to deal with it. Okay, so the reason I tell you that, guys, is because the vast majority of people, the people that you know, probably yourself, according to the statistics, are not going to be naturals. They're very few. And for every one of those wizards, trust me, because it's pointed out in the book, for every one of those wizards that finally made it, there was probably 20 or 30 other wannabe wizards who gave up. I had a good friend, and I say had because I haven't talked with him for years, but who was a market maker on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, CBOE, was a very active trader, owned a market making firm. His name was Pete, wonderful guy. And he confided in me one day in his office in Chicago. We had gone through the CBOE that day, toured it. And as we were sitting in his office, he confided in me. And he said, he said, this is kind of cliche. He said, this is kind of cliche, but he said, it's true. He said, we do our accounting as a firm. And he said, I make 100% of my profits at the end of the year on less than 20% of my trades. So in other words, we'll give him 20% and say 2 out of 10 trades or 20 out of 100 trades account for all of the profits. I said, wait a minute. He goes, yeah. I said, is that common? He said, that's basically the way it is with everybody. Which means 80% of the time, these professionals are logging up neutral to negative trades. And it's the 20% where they knock it out of the park that account for 100% of their profits. Now, I'm not saying that that's your goal, and I'm not saying that that's the way your trading life has to be, but I'm telling you that according to one of the big market makers in Chicago, who's been around a long time, who knows everybody else, he goes, yeah, that's kind of the way it is with everybody. 2 out of 10 trades will account for all of the net profit at the end of the year. Now, what he said next was staggering. That was big. That was big. But here was what was even bigger. He said, Ryan, he said, about 70–80% of all of the traders on these floors are net negative at the end of the year. If they're trading for somebody, he said 7 or 8 of them out of 10 are net negative. They make a lot of money, but at the end of a year, they're neutral or net negative. He said, what? These are the guys on the floor. Yep. They're making it, losing it, making it, losing it, making it, losing it. Now, you know that I don't like to use the word lose when you're trading, but when they trade the way they trade, they're losing because they are trying to beat the market. They're engaging, trying to physically, mentally get in there and outsmart the markets. And so in my mind, they are losing. That's the one way to lose. If you trade property, you never lose a dime. You never lose a dime. You have risk management that allows you to only risk what you are willing to risk to find out. And hopefully the risk side is much smaller than the upside. This is why Pete said, and he was successful and he did make money, but 20% of his trades where he had the right risk management and an open-ended upside, he killed it on a few of the trades because he was in a situation where he did the right thing. The market went in his favor, and it was huge because he was in the position that when it went, it did. But in the normal give and take, it would give and then it would take, and it would give and then it would take. The upside was always open, typically, the way he traded. I mean, you could have an unlimited upside, but on the downside, it was limited. And so if it went up a little bit, then it went down to the limit, then it went up, and then when it down to the limit, you're neutral. You could have, you could have 10 trades and 8 of them be positive in terms of profitable trades, and 2 of them go against you and wipe all of that out. That's possible. But if your risk level is managed so that the risk is only the size that you're willing to take and it fits into your game plan, and it's not going to be a deal breaker, then you go with it. You make the trade. If the market goes against you, it's not a loss. It's not a failure. If you can't control the outcome, you can't take credit for either one. You can't take credit for the success or the cost. You just have to do the next trade. Okay? Guys, the naturals are made, they're not born. And what Pete said was, he said, most of these guys are just in there swinging the bat so hard that they don't see it until the end of the year when they net it up and they're going, wait a minute, I made a lot of money. Yes, you did. But you also had enough stinkers to where you're net neutral or you're net negative on the year. Guys, that's huge. More than half of active traders on the floor. It's what he told me. I don't have proof of it, but I trust him. I believe him. He had no reason to tell me otherwise. But it was fascinating. He learned and he controlled his risk so that the risk never cratered him. And the upside was there. And on a few of those pitches, he knocked it out of the park. You know, hit a 3-run home run. A lot of singles, a lot of doubles, and then a few zingers. And that's where his net profits came. And it came from controlling risk, managing risk. All right, comment. Let's see. I was part of a non-trading mastermind in 2021 run by an ex-NFL player. He always said the players in the NFL are not necessarily the best. They are just the ones who did not quit. Words to live by. Okay, I agree. By the way, that is also the definition of a Navy SEAL. Okay, arguably one of the most highly trained and capable individuals on the planet. If you have 10 people go to BUDS, which is the Navy school, Navy training for SEALs, maybe 2 will complete it. Now, given the fact that the 10 who are starting out are the best of the best, they already think that they are capable of doing this. They're convinced that they're capable of doing it. They're physically absolutely capable. But if you ask Navy SEALs who are the ones that make it, they'll say, I don't know. They don't know. But they said, I can tell you who's not going to make it. You see that big guy over there? That big guy with all the muscles who thinks he's really tough? He's not going to make it. That one over there with all of the medals and badges and all the success in sports and whatnot, not going to make it. It's the ones who will not quit. They will die before they quit. They're often not big. Sometimes they are, but it's very rare. But they're the ones who won't quit. Now, that's not the way to live your life necessarily. You don't say, I'm going to die on this hill just out of stubbornness. And it's wrong to be just stubbornly stupid. But there is something to be said about being stubborn. All of these market wizards were the stubborn ones that kept coming back, kept coming back. Well, guess what? If you're going to do that, if you're going to go that way, you better have something. And I'll tell you what that something is here at the bottom of this page. They all went broke multiple times. They stuck with it and they learned by brutal experience. Many never get it and quit. I talked about that. More capable people with money trade and trade until they can't afford it anymore. The pain is too great and they quit. You know some. You may have felt like that a time or two in your own life, but you're still here. The odds of getting it by experience are very slim. Why? Because you need a lot of guts, a lot of grit, and a lot of money. You may have guts and grits, but you run out of money, it's done. You get beat up enough, you go, I don't think I like this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So how do we survive this process, guys? If you're not a natural, is there hope? And the answer is yes, there is hope. There's a better way to climb the ladder. Now, Malcolm Gladwell pointed out that 10,000 hours is the price to pay for mastery. Well, I guess what? My goal is not to master the market, guys. Although I may have put in 10,000 hours at this point, I don't know, maybe. But my goal is not to master it. It really isn't. I'm not out there to be in Jack Schwager's next book, The Market Wizards. And that shouldn't surprise anybody. Number one, you shouldn't have made that assumption about me in the first place. But we'll get to the why here in just a few minutes. There has to be a why. But skill does come through repetition. Whether or not you want to put 10,000 hours in that, that's up to you. You don't have to do that. You don't have to become a market wizard. But if you want to be proficient, there is a price to pay. And repetition is the mother of skill. But perfect practice does not make perfect. You've heard this before. Repeat it, remember it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Perfect practice does not make perfect, never has. Okay? Or practice does not make perfect, rather. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you're going to do anything, guys, you're going to have to be committed to do some repetitions, but you don't do it just out of stubbornness and say, I'll just keep doing it till I get it. Well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll get enough pain to where you quit. Maybe you'll run out of money. That's not the way to do it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to find out what it takes, and I am going to make sure that I am willing to put in that practice. And I want to practice perfectly. I don't want to spend time practicing imperfectly. Practice makes permanent. If you're not practicing it right, you just get really good at doing it wrong. I've got to be able to afford that practice. Can I survive the process financially? Am I going to risk too much money too soon so that the cost of having the market turn on me becomes too painful to afford or to endure? You may still have money, but you can't stand the rejection that you feel when you keep getting clobbered by something that you thought you could beat. Okay, there is a point where that just becomes unbearable. So let's talk about the practice. Practice has got to be realistic. The simulation practice is magical if it's done right, but it's often worthless. It's often dangerous. Simulation trading, kind of like a video game, it gives you or can give you a false sense of security. It can give you a false sense of security. It can give you a sense, I got this game beat. Well, it's not a game, number one. And number two, you've got a false sense of security because you haven't been practicing with any consequences. When there are consequences, your mindset changes, your brain process changes, your reaction time changes, your triggers change. If you know it's a video game, you cannot practice properly. So even though it's a simulation, it has got to be real enough. It's got to have some connection to some pain, and it's got to have some connection to consequence, as well as gain, reward, and cost. If the simulation does not do that, it's dangerous. Not only worthless, it's dangerous because it gives you a false sense of security. Guys, trust me, this is something that I have worked on for many, many years. How do you get simulation close enough to reality to where it trains the brain properly? It trains the brain in an environment that is real enough to where when you go into fully funded trades, it doesn't feel any different. That is the magic. If you go from the simulator into the real airplane and it comes with some fear and hesitation and doubt, then your training is insufficient. It's dangerous. The only thing that's good about that is that you feel that it's different. Okay. And if you feel that it's different, then you are going to at least be cautious, and maybe you'll be careful, and maybe you'll back away and go, no, I don't think I'm ready. That would be the signal that's sending you. If you go out from the simulator into the actual environment and it feels different, then you're not ready. That's the point. The simulator needs to be real enough to prepare you so that you walk in from one to the other without feeling a big change. Now, how do you do that? Well, I'm a big proponent of simulators, and they're getting better and better all the time. You need to attach something to that simulation trading that makes it a little bit real, enough real to where it is training your brain with the right emotional reaction. Does that make sense to everybody? When you're training with something, if it does not give you the same emotional and physical connection, then it won't translate. It can't. It's theoretical. That's the problem with a lot of martial arts. A lot of martial arts that are pulling punches and doing everything so that it's quote unquote safe, and thinking that that's preparing you for a situation where there's no rules, where safety is not even on the I got to segue and just tell you, I'm blown away when I watch WW or MMA fighting, and you'll see these guys and or gals in there now just duking it up, swinging as hard as they can. I mean, if they connected with that, it literally could break somebody's jaw. I mean, they're literally trying to damage their opponent, and they're swinging and they're punching and they're grappling, and it's just vicious. And all of a sudden, one of them goes and they pull their hands up to their face and they back away, and the other person puts their hands up like, what happened? What happened? And the guy said, my eye, you poked my eye. I just want to scream. I want to be, you idiot. You idiot. My gosh. They're in there literally trying to hurt and damage and knock each other unconscious. And if somebody gets poked in the eye, or somebody gets touched in the groin, or somebody's arm, their wrist goes out of joint, it comes out of joint, or their elbow goes out of socket, all of a sudden, and everybody stops, and the ref comes in, and the other fighter who was just going to punch him in the face backs off. You know, it is such a rarefied, stupid environment, because in reality, there's no ref, there's no rules. If you get poked in the eye and you go, time out, sorry, you got poked in my eye, you're going to get killed, idiot. Right? It's not realistic. And the reactions, if your reaction is, no matter how vicious the fight is, if you get poked in the eye, everybody stops, time out, I got to time out, my eye hurts, stop, don't hit me. And everybody come over and see how I'm doing and help me. And when I feel better, then I'll fight again. I mean, my gosh. You know, it's just, if that gets stuck in somebody's head, that's the way it is, if that's their natural reaction, that's lethally dangerous, man. And in the market, when you do simulated trading, if there's no connection to pain, if there's no consequence, if there's no feedback loop that allows you to internalize something that you will use and react exactly the same way when you're in a trading situation, then what good is it? If when a trade goes against and you literally see $3,000 disappear out of your account, and that feels different than when you were doing your simulated trading and $3,000 disappeared out of your account, if that's different, you're in trouble. Because when it disappears out of your account, it's going to trigger a different mental reaction, a different process. It will trigger reactions. It'll trigger gut level motions. Your brain chemistry will change. Your decision making will change. That's not what you practiced in the simulator. Guys, you can become proficient, but you've got to go through this process where the training is realistic enough, safe enough to survive, be able to afford to go back and do it again, get a little better, do it again, do it again, do it again, and not run out of money and or emotional currency before you reach proficiency. But the training's got to be close enough to where it's not a big shock when you go to fully funded trading. So the simulator and the mentorship, it's got to be real. It's got to have consequences, but it has to be survivable. Your mental state is crucial through this process, folks. You have to redefine success. I touched on these things early on so that I could have some repetition. I want you to see the words. I want you to hear them. Remember that you already heard them and try to internalize. I would not make this point over and over again if it wasn't incredibly important. Success is not making money. Success is making good trades. Success is redefining the playing field. You're in the bleachers. You are not on the field. You redefine the role that you are playing. You don't win in this endeavor. You don't beat the market. You make a decision. You put a trade in place that works in your favor or it works against you. If it works against you, you have a limited cost, which you knew it was going to be, and you knew it could work against you with no warning. Just suddenly done. Okay. If you make it about winning, you're already dead. That's a direct quote from somebody who knows what they're talking about. I won't go into that story, but trust me. You do the right thing in each moment. The winning, by that definition, if you want to do that, you want to go that way, the winning will take care of itself. But you don't win on your terms. If you're trying to make it about winning or losing, you're already dead. You're not winning in this environment, in this endeavor. You are placing a trade and managing it properly so that if the market goes in your direction, you will have a predictable outcome. If it goes against you, you'll have a predictable outcome, a survivable outcome, one that you knew could happen, no surprises. And if it's neutral, it's neutral. But you've got to have that mindset of you don't have any control of this. You do good trading, good risk management, good placement. And if it works, it works. And this is the upside. If it doesn't, it's neutral. If it goes against you, this is how much it costs because you limited that. Next trade. And if 20 out of 100 trades make you all of the profit for a whole year, you're in good company. You're in really good company. If only a handful of your trades make all of your net profit, that's not a bad deal. That is not bad trading. That is excellent trading. And if at the end of the year, you were net negative because you're in there trying to beat the market like most people, then that means you're also in a large company, not necessarily good company, but it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to be that, person trying to slay and beat the market. Remember, the wizards went broke, many of them several times, before they figured out how to dance with the gorilla. Quit trying to lead. You're not going to lead. You're not the lead if you're dancing with the gorilla. All right, finally, you're engaged in an interaction. Your interface, just like a computer interface, allows you to enter, you can modify, and you can exit the trade. But you're doing it from a keyboard. You are not on the field. It's like lowering your money into a stream of traffic. In this stream of traffic, there's potential for gain for sure. But there's not very many lanes and there's not very many rules. You can move the money around or you can pull it back out, but you're limited. And not unlike a video game where your avatar gets killed with no reason or no recourse or no remorse, that's what your money, that's the position your money is in. You can't get too attached to it. You have to know going in that, Mario might get squashed by that big turtle. Okay. It can happen. Doesn't mean you quit the game, but I hope you didn't bet all the money on that particular sequence that you just went through. Your niche, guys, you can adopt a strategy to manage risk that can be universal. And that's not a bad idea. In fact, I think it's a great idea. You've heard me talk about risk management. You've heard me tell you how important it is, how you figure out how much you can risk on each trade and survive if it goes against you to do it again. And we talked about risk management in terms of, can you have 3 or 4 trades go against you and still stay in the game? If you're not planned that way, you're just setting yourself up, because that happens. You can have 3 or 4 trades go against you. Are you doing something wrong? Well, if you stay in there, yeah. If you have 3 or 4 trades go against you, it may be smart to back off a little bit, catch your breath, don't get caught up in it, check everything, make sure you're doing everything right. And if you're doing everything right, go back in the game. But if you have 2 or 3 or 4 trades, well, 3 or 4 trades go against you, it's probably a good gut check time. Pull it out and check. Okay, Elon Musk. I'm a great fan of Elon Musk in a lot of ways. Personally, I don't know him. There's maybe things about him I don't like. I don't care. The things about that I do know that I can draw strength from or good examples from, I'll draw from them. And that's the way it should be with everybody. just because somebody may have a checkered past and done this or that, it doesn't take anything away from something good that they may have contributed. If you can gain something from it, gain something from it. Now, I'm not married to the guy, but here's what I respect tremendously. One thing, he decided he was going to go into the space program, built a rocket, used a lot of other people's money as well as his own, launched it, and it blew up. Okay, well, that can happen. So they built another one, launched it, it blew up. He pulled everything he could together, including a lot of his own money, and they launched a third one, and it blew up. Now, back to the drawing boards. What did we do wrong? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? It blew up. Well, yeah, we can explain that. So, but the process, everything we went into at that point was right. It's just that we had something that we didn't count on. So we got that fixed. Okay, so what now? Well, we can't think of anything else. We think we've got it figured out. Problem, we've run out of money. Problem, our creditors don't want to put money into this thing. Elon Musk went to the mat with all the money that he could put in on his own and all the money he could borrow, telling these investors one more time, and they said, look, with the assets you've got and with this risk, if this goes bad, you're going to lose everything. We're going to call the notes due and it'll wipe you out. And Musk contemplated that reality, looked at his scenario and said, do it. He risked everything. If that fourth rocket, I believe it's fourth, maybe it was third, but I believe it was fourth. If that fourth rocket would have blown up, Elon Musk would be an asterisk, okay? And also ran. He'd be gone. It'd be off the radar screen. But guess what? It worked. Okay? Now, is that a good way to do everything in life? Not necessarily. I'm not saying you have to risk everything you own to see if this trade will work. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying there are times where you have got to try one more time, but it doesn't have to be everything. Okay, I admire him because he was convinced that they had got it figured out and who was willing to risk everything. But for you to become proficient, you should manage your risk. Your trading should have risk, but it should be something you can tolerate because you cannot learn to manage risk theoretically. You can't learn to manage it in a simulator that has no consequences. You can't. You can learn process, procedure, strategy, rules, but you can't learn the mental control and the discipline it takes to handle when the market turns on you, unexpected. You can't learn that unless you actually experience it and learn it in the field. Learn it in actual application. So how do you do that? The simulation has got to be affordable. You've got to have trades that are enough to where it stings a little bit so that you're connecting the right mental reactions, but it's got to be survivable so that you can go again and learn from it and go again and learn from it. Okay. The good news, guys, is the market will allow you to try the whole menu. You can trade Forex, you can trade currencies, you can trade futures, you can trade options on stocks, you can trade anything you want until you find the thing that fits your style, fits your time frame, fits the goals of that will meet the goals of what you're trying to do financially. You can try it all. You just have to memorize, or you have to survive the process. You have to manage the emotional awareness so that you can get through to that point. All of this is to say, again, as I started, you're not a natural, probably. I don't think you are. I don't know. I've only known one person that I think is a natural, only one in my whole life. And quite frankly, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't like his personality, but his personality fit him being a natural. Okay? I don't want to be that. I want to be proficient, but I don't want to put in the 10,000 hours to become the master or to become that natural 1 out of 10,000. That's not realistic. So how does me, a regular guy, become proficient? Well, you put in you pay the price. You define absolutely what your why is. Why am I doing this? Is this to help put my kids through school? Is this to help manage my retirement? Is this to occupy time so I don't go get in trouble? Is this just a hobby that I need to have something to do? I don't know. But you need to have clear why. And the objectives are not make money. That should never be the answer. I want to do it. Why do you want to trade the market? Make money. Wrong. That's like, you're already dead. What is the money for? This is where the connections will work to your favor in your brain. What's the money for? Well, I want to do this. I want to do some charity work. Great. Then you do your trading so that you can do charity work. You do your trading so that you can afford a little bit better environment for you and your spouse or whatever it is in your environment or in your retirement. Whatever it is, it's got to be very specific. Then the money is an object to get that. Don't let money be the object. I can't say that strong enough. Just don't do it. Find minds that actually care about your outcome. Find mentors that care about you, not just about money or your money. Not your just money, not just your money. Oops. There's certainly a flood of experts out there clamoring to be your huckleberry. Phraseology from Doc Holliday. But there's a lot of people out there clamoring for your time and your money. Be careful. I don't think that you're going to find finer people than Rob as far as actually caring, because I've known him for 20 years. I love the man. I know where his heart is. Okay. Is he perfect? I'm sure he's not. Just ask Rosario. But is his heart right? Yeah, his heart's right. Those are true mentors. And then friends. It's fun to have a group of people to make the journey a more enjoyable journey. I love it. I love hanging around with you guys. I love having somebody to talk to share things that are passionate, that are easy for me to get excited about. But in the end, don't look for easy. You got to do the work. Proficiency can be accomplished, folks. It can be done. But don't look for easy. Look for something that you can see progress. You can survive the training process. You can try anything on the menu until you find the thing that's just right for you. But your commitment is, I've got to put in the work. I've got to put in the hours, but I don't want to have it wasted. I don't want to practice in a simulator that doesn't prepare me for actual field work, actual reality. Okay. And I hope you can find some fun friends and I think you have, I really think you have. I think there's a bunch of incredible people here that Rob has put together that have been attracted to it. And that would be you guys. Okay. All right. Let's see. Last comments. What did I miss here? Barry. He says Cyrus Field, who is credited with laying the Atlantic cable, failed big 4 times. His 5th cable worked, but only for 1 month. His genius was in getting money and not in his actual engineering expertise. Well, if he got enough money to do it long enough until he found success, well, good for him. All right. So my reminder, read the Market Wizards book. Read it. You'll enjoy it. It's a great read. There's 2 of them, but you'll see that there's some commonalities in there. And, these people came from different backgrounds. They, they had, some of them had success first. Others had it come later. The ones who had it first lost it and then had to get it again. But it's a brutal way to learn. And I'm saying that that's not the best way to learn. Being determined, yes. But throwing everything in there and losing millions, losing fortunes trying to do it. Those are the things that big stories get written about. It's not normal. It's not normal. And it's certainly not the best way to do it. Find mentors, find friends to work with, pay the price, do the work, do it in a simulator that is real enough to train you. Absolutely memorize and incorporate money management, risk management. And then you can avoid. The very first thing we started with was, why does the market trigger the negative emotions? Because your negative emotions are to protect you. They are so strong, so strong. When they kick in, they overrule everything. If you're threatened, life has to be preserved, and it triggers those type of responses, not good rational responses, when you're in the middle of a trading scenario. You have to learn how the Navy SEALs and the other special forces people learn how to breathe, learn how to stay more calm in a scenario, learn how to manage risk and not be afraid, know that you can survive, and push on through and do the work. There you go, guys. God bless. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July weekend. I love doing this. I love all of you. I do. I love this opportunity. So take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next month. Helen, thank you, my dear. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Bye-bye.